Welcome to Cherry Hill Tuition, where incredible results are achieved. In this mathematics tutorial, I will cover some of the excellent processes used by Cherry Hill to achieve the highest grades. Let's get started. Before we get started with the carefully selected questions, let's just go over some background theory. So the two things that we will be going over in this video are the area of non-right angle triangles and also the sine rule. So the formula that you need to know for the area of a non-right angle triangle is half AB sine C. So I would suggest that you write this down somewhere because you will need to use this a lot. Half AB sine C. The angle sine C has to be the angle in between your lengths A and B. So for example, in this triangle, we can work out the area of the triangle if we have this length, and this angle. However, if we have this length, and this angle, we will not be able to work out the area of the triangle because the lengths need to be right next to the angle. The angle needs to be in between the two lengths, AB. So angle C needs to be in between AB. Okay, this will make more sense once we go through a few more questions in a few minutes, but this is something you do need to remember. So I would advise that you write this formula down. The sine rule is a way that we can work out unknown lengths and unknown angles. The sine rule is sine of A over A is equal to sine of B over B, which is equal to sine of C over C. Again, I would advise that you write this down because we will be using this in the next few questions. Let's move on to a few questions that include the sine rule and the area of non-right angle triangles formula and see how this all works. You will notice that the question numbers are not consecutive and do not start from 1. This is simply because the questions refer to Cherry Hill specific material, but do not worry if you do not have access to this, as I will still cover the concepts in full. So question 2, calculate the area of the triangle. Now this triangle is not right angled, so we already know that we do need to use the non-right angled triangle formula, which is half AB sine of C. Angle C needs to be in between the two lengths A and B. So we can label this side as A, this side as B, and this can be our angle C. So all we need to do is plug these values in and get an answer. So a half multiplied by A, which is 5, multiplied by 10, which is B, multiplied by sine of C, and C is 30 degrees. Okay, now plugging this into our calculators, you should get an answer of, so half times 5 times by 10, multiplied by sine of 30, you should get an answer of 12.5. Okay, and because we are not given units in this question, we will just say 12.5 units squared. Okay, so do not forget your units. So quite straightforward. Let's go ahead and do some more. Question 6, calculate the area of the triangle. So it's non-right angled, so we need to write down our formula. This is A, this is B, and this is C. So again, all we do is we plug in our values. A half multiplied by A, which is 7, multiplied by 5, which is your B, multiplied by sine of C, which is 45 degrees. And this is equal to, so 0.5 multiplied by 7 multiplied by 5 multiplied by sine of 45, you should get an answer of 12.37 units squared. Bear in mind that if, for example, we did not have this 45-degree angle and we had an angle here, we would not be able to do this question unless we knew what this length was, because the angle needs to be in between the two lengths. Okay? So pause this video and try this question on your own to see if you get the same answer. Question 7, calculate the area of the triangle. So we have two lengths and we have an angle. However, we cannot use half AB sine C. The reason for this is because the angle is not in between the two lengths. Luckily, this triangle is a right angle triangle, so we can just use 12 multiplied by 7 divided by 2 to find our answer. So 12 multiplied by 7 divided by 2, you should get an answer of 42 units squared. Okay. Question 10, find the unknown. We've been given one angle and two lengths, and we need to work out a second angle. When we have questions like this, the best thing we need to the formula that we need to use is the sine formula, which is sine A over A is equal to sine of B over B, which is equal to sine of C over C. So in this question, we are dealing with B's and C's. So the part of the formula that we need to use is this part here. Okay. Now all we need to do is plug in our values and work out what C is. So sine of B. So B is 45. So sine of 45 over small b, which is 6. So again, I'm using these values here, is equal to sine of C. So big C, we do not know what that is, over little c, which is 4. Now, all we need to do is rearrange and solve for C. So the two things stopping the C from being on its own is this divide by 4 and this multiplied by sine. So what we can do is eliminate these two and get C on its own. So let's start by eliminating divide by C. To do this, we can multiply both sides by 4, leaving us with 4 sine of 45 over 6 is equal to 4 sine of C over 4. On the left-hand side, we have 4 sine of 45 over 6. And on the right-hand side, the 4's cancel out, leaving us with sine C. Now, the only thing we need to eliminate is the sine. So we can inverse sine on both sides. Leaving us with just sine, inverse sine of 4 sine 45 over 6, which is equal to C because the sines cancel out. Now all we need to do is plug this into our calculators and find a value of C. So inverse sine brackets 4 sine 45 over 6 gives us 28.13 degrees, and that's our answer. So this might seem a little bit tricky at first, but the more practice you do, you will definitely get a lot better at this, and it will start to become very easy for you. So pause this video and have a go at this question on your own without looking at my answers, and check if you get the right answer. Question 13, we've got another triangle, and we need to work out a missing length. So again, we're just working with sine B over B is equal to sine of C over C. And we just go ahead and plug our values in. So sine of big B, which is 45, over small b, which is 3, is equal to sine of C, which is 30, over C, which is unknown, so let's name it x. So we just need to rearrange and solve for x. So what we can do is make x a numerator by multiplying both sides by x. This will leave us with x sine of 45 over 3 is equal to x sine of 30 over x. On the left-hand side, we are left with x sine 45 over 3, and this is equal to sine of 30 because the x's cancel out. Okay, now to make x on its own, we need to get rid of the divide by 3 and the multiply by sine 45. So let's start by eliminating the divide by 3. We can do this by multiplying both sides by 3, leaving us with 3x sine of 45 over 3 is equal to 3 sine of 30. On the left-hand side, the x's cancel out, and the only thing left to eliminate is the sine 45. So we can divide both sides by sine of 45, leaving us with x sine of 45 over sine of 45, which is equal to 3 sine 30 over sine of 45. On the left-hand side, the sine 45s cancel out, so we are just left with x, which is equal to x 3 sine 30 over sine of 45. Now the last thing we need to do is plug this into our calculators and see what we get. So 3 sine of 30 over sine of 45 should give us an answer of 2.12. Okay, and that's your answer. So have a go at this again on your own to check if you get the right answer. So question 18, find the unknown. We have C, which is what we're trying to find, big B, small b, and small c. So in this question, we've got one angle and two lengths, and the question is asking us to work out another angle, C. So when we have one angle and two lengths, and we need to work out another angle, we need to use the sine rule. And because this is just B's and C's, we don't need to use the full sine rule. We just need sine B over B is equal to sine C over C. And now all we need to do is plug our values in. So sine of big B, which is 15, over small b, which is 24, is equal to sine of big C, which we do not know what it is right now, and that's what we're trying to solve, over small c, which is 20. Okay? Now we need to make C the subject, so we need to get rid of everything surrounding the C. So let's start by getting rid of the divide by 20. In order to get rid of divide by 20, we can multiply both sides by 20, leaving us with 20 sine of 15 over 24, which is equal to 20 sine C over 20. On the right-hand side, the 20s cancel out, and we are left with 20 sine of 15 over 24, which is equal to sine of C. Okay, and now the last thing we need to get rid of is the sine that's next to the C here. That will leave us with the C on its own. And we can do this by inverse signing on both sides. So let's do that there. So inverse sine 20 sine of 15 over 24 is equal to the inverse sine of sine c. Now, on the right-hand side, the sines cancel out, and we are just left with c. And on the left-hand side, we have inverse sine 20 sine of 15 over 24. And now all we need to do is plug this into our calculators, and we should get an answer of, so inverse sine 20 sine of 15 over 24 in your calculators should give you 12.46 degrees. Okay, so C is equal to 12.46 degrees, and that's your answer. Okay, so have a go at this on your own to try and see if you get the same answer, and try not to look at my working out until you get really stuck. Question 20, again, we have another non-right angle triangle, and we have two angles this time and one side, and we need to work out another side. So again, we need to use the sine rule for this. So let's write that down. So make sure you always write down your formulas before starting any question. So we just plug the values in. So sine of big B, which is 35, over small b, which is 25, is equal to sine of big C, which is 15, over little c, which is just small c. Okay, we need to make C the subject, so let's try and get C to be a numerator. We can do this by multiplying both sides by C, leaving us with C sine of 35 over 25 is equal to C sine of 15 over C. Now on the right hand side, the C's cancel out, leaving us with just C sine of 35 over 25, which is equal to sine of 15. So we still need to make C the subject, and right now the two things stopping C from being on its own is the 25 and the divide by 25 and the multiply by sine 35. So let's start by getting rid of the divide 25. In order to do this, we need to multiply both sides by 25. So multiply both sides by 25, leaving us with 25c sine of 35 over 25 is equal to 25 sine of 15. And on the left-hand side, the 25 cancel out, leaving us with c sine of 35, which is equal to 25 sine of 15. And now, in order to get the c on its own, the only thing stopping the c from being on its own is this sine 35. So what we can do is divide by sine 35. Okay, and what this will do is leave us with c sine of 35 over sine of 35, which is equal to 25 sine of 15 over sine of 35. And now the only thing we need to do is, well, on the left-hand side, the sine 35s cancel out. So we just have c is equal to 25 sine of 15 over sine of 35. And now all we need to do is plug this into our calculators and see what we get. So we have 25 sine of 15 over sine of 35. And what this will do is give us an answer of 11.28. Okay, so 11.28 is your answer. Pause the video now and have a go at this on your own to check if you get the right answer. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, practice makes perfect. Never give up. I will see you in the next tutorial.